What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this POV review by Autobahn. My name is Martin and this is my new E92 M3. So as you might know, I already own a G80 and an F82. So a G80 M3 with a manual transmission, so that's a sedan, and an F82 M4, a coupe with a DCT gearbox. And I'm going down the line, so I've started with the newest one, then the second to newest, and this is my latest addition to the Evolution M shop, the E92 M3. If you guys don't know Evolution M shop, we are modifying BMW M models and we're developing parts for them and of course testing them. And we are now starting with the M3 E90 platform, which is why I bought the car. Well, I also bought it as an enthusiast because I just love this gen of M3, of course because of the V8, but also because of the styling. I really like the bulky, beefy look of this generation. Also bought it as an investment because I think these cars will go up in value even more, because they have gone up quite a bit over the last like 3 years. So I paid quite a lot for this one. It's a low mileage 2008 manual transmission model, so I'm expecting not to lose any money. I'm hoping to earn even on this. So let's do a quick walk around. The previous owner upgraded to these black wheels. Of course, used to have the default M3 E92 wheels, which I'll show you in this picture right here. The owner decided to upgrade to this wheel. It still has the Pilot Super Sport Star Mark tires, so that's an OEM tire, 245 section front tire, 19-inch wheel. Behind that we have ventilated brake disc, steel ones of course, and quite an ugly brake caliper. So with this generation BMW didn't do any fancy M caliper. I do think that this OEM Super Sport Michelin tire really suits the car. It really sits in between a nice road use tire and a cup tire from Michelin, because when they're like cold they have no traction whatsoever, and when you get them really nice and hot they really stick and offer a great driving experience. On the rear axle, same tire of course, but this time it's a 265, so a little wider. As you can see, it's not an LCI, it's a 2008 model. The E92 M3 was built from 2007 to 2013, and people really prefer the LCI rear lights. These are non-LCI, and what I just love is all the classic details, like a chrome M3 badge, a chrome quad exhaust, and of course this was the successor to the E46 M3, one of the most loved generation of M3. And like the purists, they thought this wasn't a good move by BMW. Can you imagine? They did not like it that they put a V8 in there, because they wanted it to be a straight 6. Nowadays though, we really appreciate this engine. We know what it's capable of, we know what it sounds like. If you haven't heard the sound, go watch this video and then come back, because it is such an iconic sound. It is so sweet and it runs like velvet. Really, really cool. So it's the 4-liter S65 V8, capable of doing 8400 RPM, 400 Newton meters coming from that 4-liter, and 420 horsepower supposedly, because many of these have gone on a dyno and they did like the worst ones did 370, and like really good ones did like 4 or 410, but no one ever got that 420 horsepower. So it's derived from BMW's S85 engine, so the V10 from the M5 E60, just with 2 cylinders cut off and an upgraded ECU. So as I said, it's done only 57,000 kilometers, so a really nice example. So the plenum has been painted in body color by the previous owner, and maybe we'll change that in the future. So as I said, the enthusiasts, they wanted this to be a straight 6, but This engine, being a 4 liter, is 33% larger in engine capacity, but it's 25% lighter than the predecessor, the S54 3 liter straight 6 from the M3 E46. So that's a remarkable accomplishment by BMW, that they got this engine to be as light as it actually is. So of course they also introduced the power dome in this generation. So this piece right here to actually fit the engine. They still do this, but it's like an iconic feature to the M3. Nowadays it's not actually necessary anymore, but they still do this. The power dome looks really, really awesome. And another nice detail to the bonnet is these M3 logos right here, both left and right. So as you can see, these vents or intakes on the top, this one isn't functional really, but this one actually hooks up to the air intake, allowing air to go into the plenum. And then underneath here we have 8 individual throttle bodies, so that's why it sounds as good as it does. 0 to 100 4.5 seconds if you got the DCT version. So BMW introduced the dual clutch unit for an M3 on this generation, and 4.8 if you have the manual like I do. There was also a GTS and a CRT, and this is the S65 B40 being a 4 liter, and they had the S65 B44, a 4.4 liter stroker with 440 horsepower. And of course more torque because of the bigger displacement. The CRT was the sedan version of the GTS. It was really inconspicuous. You couldn't see that it was a very limited special performance car. It just had a few red details and that was it. The GTS, however, being fire orange, was really special and is a legend nowadays. The CRT is a bit unknown in that respect. So if you want to see a review with the GTS, go click in the top right corner. So benefit from having the manual, even though it's slower to 100, is that it's 30 kilos lighter. And I want my cars to be as light as possible. What BMW also did is introduce this, a carbon fiber roof. That, well, they also did it with the M3 CSL, of course, but the E92 was the only one of this generation that had it. So if you had an E90, which is a sedan, a 4-door, you did not have the carbon roof, so it was 25 kilos heavier. So on the inside, lovely interior, great comfortable seats with a little M logo in there, but they are not really supportive. They offer some support, but like with really hard cornering, not that great. It's in a really nice condition, this, because of the low mileage, and this has that carbon weave leather trim, and I love this little fat BMW M steering wheel. Beautiful analog dials, which we love, with a little center digital cluster right there. And it's a sunny day today. Let's start her up. I have the coolest option ever. Look at that! How cool is that? That's very James Bond. So I haven't talked about the elephant in the room, because everyone's going like, you bought an E92, what about the rod bearings? Everyone has nightmares about E92 rod bearings. Well, let me show you guys. Here I have the old ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, they replaced all of them. Let me show you. So I demanded them to be replaced when I bought the car. They weren't in too bad of a condition, but I just wanted them to be completely new before I did this video. On the Autobahn, of course, we're going to really extract everything from that lovely engine. So the exhaust, beautiful, as I said, a chrome quad tip exhaust. In 2011, BMW introduced an in-canal and performance exhaust, and I would just love to get my hands on one of those and put it on this car. I'm definitely going to upgrade everything, but I want it to be OEM or even better than OEM. So let's see what it's actually like, and let's see if my stupid... This is the stupidest flimsy thing I've ever seen, really. It never actually hooks up to the seat belt, so I have to get it myself. And then this piece of plastic goes back in there. Oh, I wish I can code that out. What a stupid feature. So we also have the first iDrive in a 3 Series, and if you just press it, you go into the M menu, where with mDrive you can select your power setting, DSC, your EDC settings, electronic damper control. You can choose between comfort, normal and sport. Let's go for sport. DSC, so traction control, let's go for off. But they also introduced M dynamic mode. Power, of course we want it to be in Sport Plus to get the most power, and Servotronic in sport. So that's the steering, which is actually hydraulic, which is just lovely. Let me tell you, let me show you, let me just experience everything with you and just enjoy all the lovely features of the E92 M3. So this is in normal driving mode, and already that engine, you can definitely tell when the double vanos kicks in, so that's like the variable valve timing, sort of BMW's VTEC. But you know, vanos kicked in just doesn't sound that good. But oh, it is so silky smooth, and one of the nicest V8s that has ever been. In a way, it reminds me of the V8 from our Ferrari F430, but it's smoother, it's less aggressive, but it can be aggressive, because when I hit this M button, a lot of things change, like the throttle mapping, the power delivery, the mapping of the engine, like everything. It is such a nice engine, and that's the 8400 RPM rev limiter. So the engine actually won Engine of the Year in 2008 and in 2009 and in 10 and in 11 and in 12 and in 2013. How the hell did they do that? Wow, that is absolutely remarkable. I have to admit, objectively speaking, the DCT is the better choice for this car. The manual, it's a bit clunky, it's a bit rubbery, it's not a great manual, really. But I'm just a sucker for a manual. I just, in the end, love them better than with a DCT gearbox. I just enjoy them more. I have more fun driving a manual, even though it's a bit weird in this case. They definitely did a fantastic upgrade with the G80 manual. F80 manual as rubbish as this one, but I still love them. So during its lifespan, the E92 also got offered the competition pack, which offered a lowering kit 1 centimeter lower than this, different damper calibration, different traction control calibration, beautiful 1M wheels, you can just feel the engine through your throttle pedal. Just lovely. Oh, that's an Alpina XD3. Wow, what a sound, right? So one of the reasons reasons you should get a sedan and not the E92 are these stupid frameless windows, because they make a hell of a noise, which for an Autobahn lover is quite frustrating. So that's the limiter at little over 270. I love that car, really. So that's, let me burst your bubble, it's 250 GPS. So the problem with E60 M5 and the E90 M3 is that there is this legend that they are super quick. They have an incredible top speed. With an E60 you can do 320 or 330 without any tuning, just removing the limiter. On the speedo, that is, on the speedo. Because when you verify it with draggy 25 Hz GPS speedo, it turns out that like 275 here is 250 on GPS, which is just insane. Same goes for the E60 M5. Like a 30 km/h difference, which is just insane to me. Let's go for third gear and pull from like 100, and let's do a 100 to 200. There we go. I can do this all day. Such a nice experience. So we already did an E90 with a manual transmission, which had like 200,000 kilometers on the car, and that did a 12.7, which I thought was so slow. So I think that's one of those 360, 370 horsepower examples I was mentioning earlier. This, however, because it did a 10.9, so nearly 2 full seconds quicker, which indicates that it's definitely at that 400 horsepower number, I guess. So another annoying thing is the throttle pedal. It has this, what is that? It's like I'm wearing tap dancing shoes. The brake pedal doesn't have it, but the top of the throttle pedal is very annoying. So maybe BMW offers like an M Performance pedal thingy that can remove that frustrating sound. Let's do one from second gear. The more gears the better, right? Even though it's not the best manual, I love it when you just nail it. When you have a perfect upshift or a perfect downshift, it's such a rewarding experience. What I don't get is that with the DCT, you get like shift lights at the top of the rev counter, and you don't get that with the manual. Like, why not? With a manual, you should also be able to just look forward and from your peripheral view change gears and focus on your driving. But if you really get to know the car, you can just hear the amount of RPMs it's doing. The sound has such a nice change in tone throughout the rev range. Like, you can hear the variable valve timing working actually. So down low it's really has that V8 grunt, this, and then the tone completely changes to this very edgy, pitchy V8. Honestly, it's one of the best engines ever made, and I love this car. I really do. I like the condition of it, I like the character of it. It's definitely a special driving experience. So the first upgrade will be a full Venturi intake and plenum, which is going to make that intake noise even more full-bodied, and of course, you know, browsing and hunting for other upgrades to this car.